So this afternoon I'll be at California Endowment and do a little 5-minute presentation and then a panel on nurturing adult relationships with minority boys. And so they wanted to know about our mentoring model. So thought what I would do is share a story that illustrates the basis of our approach, talk a little bit about our model, and then do a 30-second mentor training. I think most of you know the story, but it's about our boy Julius. Met Julius, and shortly after we met, he ended up in juvenile hall for leading a ring of guys stealing cell phones. So I was able to get on the guest list, and I went up and visited him. And I looked at Julius and I said, "You're freaking amazing." And he looked at me like, "You're freaking crazy." And I said, "No, really, how'd you get 6 other guys to do something that stupid?" And within a few minutes, we were talking not about the crime or the misbehavior, but about his leadership and persuasion skills and his, communication skills. And he got released and came back and started coming to our programs. And every time we wanted somebody, to volunteer to lead something, who was jumping up to do it, Julius, because that gift of leadership and communication, was recognized, and he wanted to live into it. Fast forward about 5 years after that fateful day in juvenile hall, and we're up on the mountain doing one of our rites of passage initiation retreats, and nascent gang set came up the mountain with us. There was about 62 boys, and reports started coming back that one guy got jumped, and there were kids with weapons, and the mentors were starting to become unhinged because of the disrespect, from the young people. And so it was obvious that we had to deal with this. So at a break, I ran around, picking off leaders and saying, when we get back into the room, we're going to deal with this thing, and I'm going to need your help. We get back in the room and we bring it up. We just put it out there. It's one of our philosophies is we invite the trouble in so that we know what we have to deal with. If we suppress it, then it never gets dealt with, and so maybe we keep from us having to deal with it, but the young people carry it with them, and they don't get the help they need. So we just put it out there, and the room erupted. It started, ex gangbangers were, sharing, with the guys. You don't want to do this. You think you're getting, banding together to protect yourself, but you're actually painting a target on your back. And then as it's kind of almost reaching its peak, I remember I'm sitting in a chair just like this, and Julius is on the floor sitting next to me. And at one point, it stands him up. And as he's standing up, he just goes, "This shit's got to stop." And whatever it was, that leadership, that authority he was born with, showed up in that moment, and the entire room went silent, and all eyes were on Julius. What had happened before that was, after we opened the subject up, one of the young men in the back of the room stood up and said, "Tony, on behalf of Phoblock, in respect for what you do for us up here, Phoblock the gang doesn't exist while we're on the mountain." And that was my moment of truth. The safe thing to do, and what probably risk management would tell me to do, is to go, "We have a truce, thank you." But then how does it get dealt with? So instead, what I said is, screw that. If it exists down there, it exists up here. We don't come up to the mountain to just have a sweet little retreat and go home and continue to do the shit that's going to get us killed. So we dealt with it. So then the conversation ensued and gave Julius a chance to stand up in that moment. And within a couple of minutes, he had all 9 guys that were claiming Phoblock standing. And he knew who they were. But he had no given authority in the room to do that. He just, his leadership skills, his natural authority that he was born with showed up in that moment. And he knew what to say to each guy. And he wouldn't let them sit down until each one had agreed to dissolve Phoblock. not get out themselves, but actually end the gang. And like he picked off two guys, and he said, you two, you grew up together, right? Are you going to be the one to tell his mama when he dies for some shit you started? And he knew mama was the way to get through to that guy. And he knew the right thing to say to each one of these guys to get through them. And by the time he was done, all 9 guys had agreed to dissolve Faux Bloc. And the last guy standing, the holdout, was his brother, his younger brother, who actually had started it. And so they ended up crossing the room and hugging it out and crying on each other's shoulder. And, I don't want to see you die for this shit. And things like that were spoken. And, so that was the incentive that ended. Now there was probably 15, 20 more guys back home. And so we actually hired somebody that's a serious guy, Damien, that really knows how to do this stuff, and started going around the neighborhood and holding meetings to do on the ground what we did in the mountain with the guys who didn't come up the mountain with us. And it probably took almost a year, but that's a nascent gang that never really got its foothold because one young man was willing to claim his gift because it had been seen and recognized. And so our greeting in our programs is a Zulu word, Sawubona, which means I see you or we see you. And really the deep level of that means we see the gift, the strength, the beauty that you were born to bring into this world. And if we can see it, then you can claim it. And it's a deep witnessing that invites young people to be their highest self. And that's what it's at the center of our model of mentoring. It's bringing adults into the lives of youth, not to give them advice about what kind of job to get or how to get better grades or things like that. Those might be ancillary benefits, but to see who they really are at their core so that they have a reason to want to grow into something big and beautiful and powerful and strong.